Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Park and I'll be presenting on the two popes. So just to start out, in 2005, John Paul II died and a new pope needed to take his place immediately. This process was in Vatican City, and about 250 cardinals elected a new pope, which ended up being Pope Benedict, and Bergoglio was very close to becoming the pope, but he was not, and he ended up returning to Argentina with plans just to do simple work and then retire. Ratzinger's, which is Pope Benedict, he was very controversial as a pope, and many saw him as too conservative, and he ended up losing followers because of it, and people who believed in the Catholic Church did not want to follow him. So in 2012, confidential documents of the popes were leaked. This ended up being sexual abuse cases within the Catholic Church. We'll find out later in the movie that Pope Benedict ended up hiding some of these. He then asked Bergoglio to come to the Vatican because he is going to resign, and he wanted Bergoglio to be the Pope. Bergoglio actually paid for his plane ticket beforehand because he wanted to retire. While they were at the Vatican, they talked a lot about his retirement, and Ratzinger just denied it every single time, and just did not want anything to do with what Bergoglio was saying to him. We also see a lot of flashbacks at their time in the Vatican, and Bergoglio's life before becoming a priest and during his younger years. He was engaged, and one day he was walking past a church and it was a sign that he became a priest. Soon after, they both travel back to the Vatican, where Pope Benedict tells Bergoglio that he is resigning, and Bergoglio explains why he does not want to be pope. He explains that back during the dictatorship in Argentina, he actually helped the government a lot with getting rid of priests, and he just did it to protect them and protect a lot of priests and nuns, but he ended up hurting a lot of them. He explains this, and then in 2013, Ratzinger resigns and Bergoglio is eventually elected pope, and we end the movie with them both watching the World Cup together, eating pizza. So the first character that I did an analysis on was Cardinal Bergoglio. I really, really enjoyed his character and how just kind and understanding he was towards everyone. I analyzed the behavioral approach of leadership, which is just a behavioral approach, and I analyzed the relationships that he had with other people. And then I also noticed that he is a very authentic leader. So for the behavioral approach, I recognize that he uses relationship behaviors. For example, he's very motivated to make the world a better place and accept everyone despite what the church says. For example, he used homosexuality and birth control, and the Catholic Church says these are big no-nos and that they should not be supported, but he says that everything is changing all the time and we should accept what other people think about this. He also prays for everyone, including people that disagree with him, and he wants to have a connection with Ratzinger, which at the beginning of the movie you could definitely tell that Ratzinger just doesn't like what he stands for, and Bergoglio still prays for him. Something also that stood out to me was when Ratzinger became the Pope and Bergoglio prayed for him even though he was so close to being Pope. I also said he's an authentic leader because he stays true to what he believes in, even if it is against the Vatican's history. Like I said, he has different views on birth control and homosexuality. He also realizes when he does wrong and apologizes for it, which is a big trait in authentic leadership. He was talking to Pope Benedict at the end of the movie about how he completely regrets doing what he did throughout the dictatorship in the 70s in Argentina, and that if he could go back and change what kind of follower he was, he would do that. And he admitted to the wrongdoing. He is also very self-disciplined, relational, transparent, and has internalized moral perspective. Like I said, he has his specific values and morals that he stands by. You can tell when he talks to Pope Benedict that he does not give up and he will not change his mind on what he believes in, and it's all for the good. The second character that I did an analysis on was pretty much the opposite of Bergoglio, which was Jorge Rafael Videla. He was an Argentinian dictator from 1976 to 1983. I couldn't find a picture of him, the actor from the movie, so I inserted a picture of the real Argentinian dictator. I analyzed him as a pseudo-transformational leader. So as we know, a pseudo-transformational leader is someone that transforms people for wrong and for the negative side of things. He was the leader of the Dirty War from 1976 to 1983. You can tell that he's just very self-consumed, exploitive, power-oriented, and had warped values. It says in the movie how many nuns and priests were killed because the government did not agree with what they were saying, and it's a military dictatorship, and a lot of them just went around killing them because they had different beliefs. A quote that I saw in our leadership book, it says, "A pseudo-transformational leader has a strong inspirational talent and appeal, but is manipulative and dominates and directs followers towards his or her own values." I say this definitely says a lot about this dictator, and that is Jorge. So the 6 scenes that I analyzed were, the first one is after dinner when Pope Benedict played the piano. I'd say Bergoglio had a big influence on him throughout the movie. This shows him as a transformational leader and showing him what the good is, and that it's okay to have different opinions than from what the Vatican says. So after this, before dinner, or before Pope Benedict played the piano, they kind of just had a stiff friendship. They didn't really have anything to say to each other. Bergoglio got him to loosen up, and Pope Benedict played the piano. I thought this was a good representation of transformational leadership. The second one that I analyzed was Bergoglio explaining how he cannot be a salesperson for a product that he does not believe in. This scene happens when Bergoglio and Pope Benedict first talk at the Vatican, when Bergoglio flies there. They were talking about the Vatican views on birth control, homosexuality, and Bergoglio explains that he does not believe in that those things are wrong, and he can't stand up for that kind of stuff. So I showed this as authentic leadership. The third one that I analyzed is young Jorge Bergoglio coaching football. Throughout the movie, we saw different flashbacks from Bergoglio just explaining why he is the way he is and why he is the leader that he is today. I analyze this as a coaching situational approach. It's pretty obvious in the name, but he was coaching football to the young boys. And a quote that stood out to me that he said to his team is that his team is not God, and that there's only one God, so they are all the same, and they're all playing together. And I thought that was a really nice way to talk to your followers and include them as a team, to work together. The fourth scene that I analyzed was Bergoglio praying for Ratzinger as soon as he became Pope and after Ratzinger received more votes. I think this is very supportive, and he shows great leadership qualities by doing this, because even though he was very close to being Pope, and I'm sure a part of him wanted to be Pope, he still took time to pray for him and actually pray for him and was very genuine about it and wanted him to succeed. So I find this as very supportive. The fifth scene that I analyzed was Bergoglio explaining to Ratzinger why he does not deserve to be Pope. He is explaining why himself cannot be Pope at this moment, when Ratzinger asked him to be Pope when he resigns because of all the scandals that came out. During the scene, we see a flashback of the dictatorship and how he sort of got rid of some of his own priests and nuns, and it was just to protect his people. But he explains this, and he also explains his wrongdoing, and like I said before, this shows very authentic leadership in him. The sixth scene that I analyze is Bergoglio obeying others' orders during the dictatorship to protect his fellow priests and nuns. I'd say this is a very situational approach, because at the time you can tell that he feels as though he doesn't really have a choice, and it's that situation where he has to lead and talk to his priests and his nuns in a way that he's protecting them, but also not really explaining everything. This shows some lesser leadership qualities and some that are not very good, but this is also the situational approach. Some of the main issues in the movie are Ratzinger is losing followers because of his leadership style. We hear this in the very beginning, that a lot of the Catholic Church believers are leaving because of how he feels about certain things like birth control or homosexual relationships. And then you can tell that Ratzinger does not believe in change, and he even says it, that he does not believe in change. He just believes in compromise. The second issue is that Bergoglio did not believe that he deserved to be Pope because of his past. Throughout the movie, we see the flashbacks of the dictatorship and what he had to do in the situation. And then the third issue is Ratzinger confessing that what he has done and cannot hear God anymore, which is the reason why he wants to resign. And this becomes a main issue and causes him to want to resign. So in conclusion, Ratzinger retires and shocks everyone in the end of the movie. Bergoglio is elected to be the newest pope, of course. During the ceremony, he thanks Ratzinger and asks the crowd to pray for him, which also shows his leadership qualities and how great of a leader he is. He then begins to travel the world and trying to better and aid in helping the suffering of others. And then at the very end, we see in 2014 the two popes reunite to watch a World Cup together while eating pizza. And these are my references. Thank you guys for listening.